Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to your Wednesday night live stream. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by fellow lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy CJ Vogel, and the newest member of the On Texas Football family, my good friend and esteemed colleague Jeff Howe, joining us for this Wednesday live stream. While we got the live stream going, guys, there'll be a kind of a truncated edition. We'll get out a little bit early. So if you got some questions, got some comments, throw them out there. We'll try to address as many of them as we can. You guys know how it works. Super chats always jump to the front of the line, so you can interrupt the show at any time, talk about whatever you want to. Of course, we'll talk a lot of recruiting on the show. We'll get into some of the obviously commitment dates, announcement dates that are out there. We'll get into it. We'll talk to CJ about it, as well as Jeff Howe. Talk about what the latest, or at least what the latest rumors are, what the latest talk is about Texas and some of the top prospects they're looking at for this 2026 cycle. We'll also get into Athlon Sports. Actually looked at they're doing their college football preview, and they have their ranking of all of the teams. I think they do an entire FBS ranking of every team in college football, and they did their All-American team. So we'll talk about what Athlon Sports had to say about how good the Longhorns are going to be in 2025. We'll dive into that a little bit, and there are reports coming out about revenue sharing. I believe the A&M athletic director put out their, at least what the percentage is going to be for their revenue sharing for their athletic department. Texas hadn't really been specific in that area just yet, but there are some schools that are starting to at least put out some of the kind of the raw percentages of what their revenue sharing are going to be for the major sports. So we may get into that a little bit too coming up on the show, but you guys drive the show any direction that you want to. Just throw it out there. Questions, comments. We'll try to address as many of them as we can. Like I said, we'll have a bit of a shorter version of our Hump Day live stream today. All right. First off, CJ, happy belated birthday. And how was the birthday? And what did you do that was cool on your 28th birthday?
28? Yeah, big old 28. Getting old. Yeah. I was up there.
That's old.
I was up in Dallas. I hung out with my family. Funny story. So I don't know many people know this at all. Me and my dad have the same birthday.
Oh, that's cool.
So we got to go up there, hang out. Spend time with the family. Grandma came in, and we went out to, or I guess we got Hutchins barbecue joint up in McKinney, and got to hang out. It was a good time.
Damn, that's pretty cool. My brother and my niece have the same birthday.
Yeah, it's fun. It makes for a true family affair with the birthday.
Yeah, no, that is really cool. And honestly, my daughter her predicted due date was like a day after my birthday, so it could have happened right around my birthday, which is always around Texas OU actually. But she came early, so I guess the joke is that she wanted to see Texas OU. She's like, I ain't want to interrupt the Texas OU weekend. She's got respect for Texas football, even coming out of the womb, so it's a beautiful thing. All right, let's get to some recruiting. I know you guys, I see a lot of questions, so we'll get to those questions, I promise you, here momentarily. But the latest announcement, I said commitment announcements, are we expecting coming up either later this week or early next week or this weekend? Which ones are on the horizon now that we need to be on lookout for? I love this graphic. By the way, On Texas Football tweeted this out. You should go just put it, bookmark it and favorite it so you have access to it. It's a great, and thank you, Matthew, for it. It's a great graphic to help you get organized about where these announcements are happening.
Yeah, look, you see it there. What is that, 18 over the next 12, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? So it's going to be nonstop, and Texas is going to see a lot of commitments go their way, and they're going to see a lot of commitments that don't go their way that they brought in for official visits. But look, the big one is Xavier Crowell. Excuse me, I'm thinking Trey Johnson with the NBA draft. Xavier Crowell decides tomorrow. Right now, it's between Texas and Alabama. I know Auburn's in the mix. Georgia's somewhat in the mix, but right now, Texas and Alabama. Texas has been making a push. Take of that as what you will, but right now, to me, Alabama still remains the team to beat. Of course, very difficult to pull top prospects from Jackson, Alabama, out of Alabama. For a long time, the state has had a monopoly on their in-state guys. Texas trying to continue that push, right? You look at KJ Lacey last year, you look at Vodney Cleveland this year, you look at perhaps in a Xavier Crowell. If not, there are some other options for the Longhorns to pursue at the running back spot, but we'll get to that whenever we get to it. After that, look, Friday's going to be a busy day. You see 3 more decisions: Chase Calicut, Malachi Lee, Damari Simeon. A lot to come from. And then, of course, James Johnson on Saturday, Xavier Griffin on Sunday to wrap up the month of June. And my goodness, does July get busy. Talk about July 4th and that weekend and the fireworks that come.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be plenty on the recruiting trail.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, at this point, I think it's fun to me. A lot of Longhorn fans are nervous, but to me, it's kind of fun because it's no way you're going to end up with a disappointing recruiting class. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be one of the best recruiting classes in the country. It's just always about kind of how it takes shape. At this point, Sark's going to, are we looking at a top 5 recruiting class, correct? Trending.
Yeah,
correct?
Certainly.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just all about, do they get your favorite guys, the guys that you like, or what you think they need most? So that's why it's fun to me, because at this point, I'm going to trust Sark and the work that the staff have done.
And let me answer this real quick. John's question: do you know what time Crowell announces tomorrow? It's going to be about 6:15, 6:30. It's in that range. He put out 6:20, but you never know when officially. It might be one of those things where like you see a baseball and MLB game start at 6. The first pitch is at 6:07, right? So it says 6:20. I would assume it's closer to about 6:30, but it'll be around this time tomorrow night. So be on the lookout for there as well. And yes, Tracy Jackson. Xavier Crowell has been to Texas 5 times from Alabama. That's not an easy trip to get down here, regardless of where you're flying in from. Of course, the last time he was here was for his official visit, but he made 4 unofficials. You don't take 4 unofficials anywhere, regardless of in-state or out-of-state, unless you have high interest. If Choice was still here, would Crowell have been in the class? Probably, but you can't live off of those what-ifs or hypotheticals. So a lot of interest in the Longhorns, and he's been out here plenty of times over the last year and a half or so. Tomorrow's going to be really interesting.
All right. I have to throw this out there because Mama Vogel giving us a little inside info here. Says not only was CJ born on his dad's birthday, his little brother was due June 24th too, but has a June 16th birthday. Yeah, like my baby girl came a little bit early, but was supposed to be on that B-Day. That's see, there you go. I mean,
that would have been too many birthdays.
Yeah, then it's not as cool. I go like, shit.
I think he was born on Father's Day too. So my dad just hasn't been able to celebrate anything.
That's how it is for a dad. Dads don't get celebrated like moms, and hey, moms deserve all the love. That's why Mama Vogel's here. You know what I mean? She's still watching. She's still watching over you, CJ, making sure that you are behaving yourself. All right, let's get to some of the questions, and then we'll dive into some of the other topics. But if you guys have questions, like I said, throw them out there. How about this one from Cody? He said, if y'all were one of these top recruits in the country, when would you commit? June, July, during the season, or drag it out to December? I'm talking if you were a top 10 recruit nationally. This is a damn good question, Cody. I like it in the new landscape too of college sports. I'm gonna tell you right now, Rod B, I might drag it out a little bit.
Oh, I'm definitely dragging. If I'm a top 10 recruit, if I've got the leverage, I'm dragging it out as long as possible. Because if you're that caliber recruit and there are very few guys that can do this, that can really drag it all the way to the end, and those staffs recruiting you, they'll have a spot for you. There may have been a couple that peeled off, but for the most part, you'll still have, unless you're just a flawed guy, they'll still be there for you. Yeah, you know what? I take it a step further. I mean, actually, I don't have to take it a step further, because with the National Letter of Intent program going away, I was going to say, I wouldn't even sign a letter of intent. I would sign scholarship papers and enroll, but I'm not going to put my name on anything that is going to back me into a corner if I've got that kind of leverage.
Yeah. Yeah. It's only a few guys that have that.
Very few.
Very few. And top 10, I mean, you're in that kind of conversation. But I would drag it out as long as I could. I would. And I think it would give you just more sample size to make a better decision. If you end up where you initially started, then that's good. That means you got a good gut instinct. If you end up in a different place than you initially started, if you take a little bit more time, then okay, I was a little bit more thorough. The more information I had, I feel like I made a more informed decision overall. So yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I like that. I don't think I'd go early though. I definitely wouldn't go early.
No.
Now maybe during the season I'd get inspired. Right, I'm watching football. I mean, so maybe during the season I'd get inspired at one point. That could happen. But right now I'm feeling like I'd drag it out.
I'm going on all of my official visits. I know that for sure.
Yes. Exactly. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
These days.
Free trips.
Especially now that you got unlimited. I'm taking, look, I know you can't do the Hawaii trip. Like they're very selective who they let take an official visit. But like I'm going to UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to Florida State to get that FAMU party.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to Boulder. Like I'm taking the token trips. If I'm a top 10 guy and it's unlimited visit, I'm taking all those visits that, hey man, that's just a great place to go. Yeah, I'm going there. And because you gotta go to Tuscaloosa or wherever.
Tuscaloosa used to be a spot because I wanted to meet the GOAT. Now the GOAT ain't there. I don't even know if Tuscaloosa is on that automatic list for me. I'm like, well, the GOAT ain't there. The GOAT. That's why I'm going to Colorado. Just like I went to Colorado, I gotta go meet Dion. I'll see what Dion talking about real quick, and then it's all good. I love Dion that much. I'm a cornerback. I would give Dion a trip. You know what I mean? Among my guys. And then I'll throw out the Georgia, the Ohio State, Texas would be in that conversation for me, of course, too. Texas would be there. These days I would say A&M. I don't know. I would hope that A&M probably would make it. I don't know if they'd make my top 5 like they did back in the day. Two of them would still be the same. Texas, and I would still go to Colorado. I don't know if I'd go to A&M like I did back in the day. I don't know. These days, that's different. That's interesting. I'm not sure. I know. Yeah, because A&M was a wrecking crew when I was coming out. Just think about that, guys. That was a different conversation. That was a wrecking crew. Like they were known for a great defense. They had just won the Big 12. It was a different conversation. Now the conversation about A&M is that how they underachieve and how they are the most, obviously one of the most disappointing programs in the country and all that kind of stuff. I'm not hating on the Aggies. I'm talking about what the national perception is. I don't know if a young Rod B would have been into A&M at like right now. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not trying to diss the Aggies. Yeah. Just talking about, ball.
No, you can diss the Aggies, right? It's fine.
I know, but I'm not trying to diss. I don't try to diss it because I was almost an Aggie. What it looked like I'm trying to diss the Aggies when I was almost an Aggie. That's like the people that talk bad on their exes and trash their ex, like you was dating them. What they say about you? You was with them a long time, and then you gonna trash them and everything. I can't. So I'm not gonna trash the Aggies as much as Longhorn fans would like, because, like I said, I was close. That was my last 2 schools, the Longhorns and the Aggies. Like I was almost one. Thank God I was not. I'm not one. Seriously.
You think it would make Aggie fans sick if they knew like how many recruits R.C. Slocum influenced to stay in state that ended up going to Texas? Like, yeah, I should probably stay in state. And then you're picking between ones. Well, yeah, I'm going to Texas. That's what happened to you, Rod. R.C. Slocum effectively was one of the best recruiters.
That's true.
Texas had.
Yeah, no, but it was more pride in the state back then. Remember, they had state. We had state all-star games. Like I played in the California versus Texas all-star game. Like Texas, some of the Texas best prospects versus California best prospects, and we'd go play an all-star game right before we went off to college.
Yep.
And it was like they would have these. They don't have those anymore, right?
No, like the Oil Bowl back in the day was Oklahoma.
I don't know what it was. It was like I think Kyle Bowler threw the winning touchdown against Texas. They won. He threw the winning touchdown. It was a Hail Mary, not on my side, but it was a Hail Mary against. It was not on my. I swear to y'all. Look it up. Not on my side. I remember thinking like I got this covered, and other side of the field gave up the kind of a Hail Mary touchdown. But anyway, so someone says they got the North versus South. They still do that? I don't know.
No, they don't do the. That's the
any of that, right?
Game. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Anyway, see, that's how I know I'm old. Damn. I got old archaic references I'm making now. All right, let's get back to the questions here. How about this one? CB wants to know, has CJ ordered his flag jersey yet?
In the mail.
Done. Look at that. Wow.
The face of Texas.
State
of Texas football. Or goodness. The state of Texas, the face of state of Texas basketball. Took me a little bit to get that.
What about Katie's in the state? Katie's back in the state now, though.
That's all right. He's 38 years old.
He's in H-Town now.
He's old.
And he went to Texas. And he's back in H-Town. Come on.
He's not Cooper Flag.
He ain't Cooper Flag. I'm excited about the Katie thing, but I got KD's awesome, but KD, I don't know. They need to find somebody that wants to like lead because KD don't want to lead. KD just want to play. Like, and I respect it, but KD don't. They need leaders down there with the Rockets too. They don't need guys just want to play.
I think
KD's a great player and he's a Hall of Famer, but he don't want to lead. He just want to play. And sometimes you need guys to lead both. He leadership.
An alpha, a true alpha.
Yeah, like, and I'm not saying he's not, but he don't want that role. He could do it. He just don't want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's why you make sure you got to find somebody who also wants that alpha role that CJ's talking about too with the team. The Rockets, they can do something. They find both of those. Anyway,
it's worth talking about because Kevin Durant is a lifetime Longhorn. But I just, to me, the big thing with that is, what are your realistic expectations, and internally for the Rockets, like, what are your expectations for Kevin Durant, who's going to be 37 years old before the end of the calendar year?
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we talked about this on the On Texas Football message board on the forum. I'm like, look, you know, I made a bad comparison. I said, hey, maybe his role, I'm thinking maybe his role is kind of like Ray Allen later in his career, where he's just kind of a sniper off the bench, you know, not playing as many minutes. Man, if you're expecting Kevin Durant to come into your franchise and play 25, 26 minutes a game and be a 25, 26 point per game scorer, all right, then he'll break down before you get to the playoffs and he'll be on the bench. So I'm you got to feel like this is his last stop. His last port of call is going to be in the state of Texas. And I'm excited. Even as a Mavs fan, I'm excited to see how that goes. I just want to know, like, okay, what do the Rockets realistically want to get out of him at this point in his career? I
would say that Texas, though, the Texas NBA teams, they all got something kind of sexy if you're a fan. You're a Mavs fan, got Cooper Flag, obviously Wemby with San Antonio, and now the Rockets got a KD. So you got something to put butts in seats.
I'd much rather root for the Rockets than the Spurs, though.
Wait, you know what? I can't. It's hard for me to root for either the Mavs or the Spurs, though.
To quote Charles Barkley, if the Spurs are playing Afghanistan, I'll root for Afghanistan.
You don't got the Barkley hatred for San Antonio. It's not that deep. He doesn't even like the San Antonio women or the food, and the women and the food in San Antonio on point. I don't know what you're talking about.
He's no longer anti-churro, though. Charles Barkley is no longer anti-churro.
If you're dissing the food and the women in San Antonio, you need to spend more time down there because I didn't enjoy it both. You know what I'm talking about? All right, let's get to our sponsors really quick before we move on. Let's thank our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. Really appreciate their ongoing support of On Texas Football and for sponsoring our Wednesday night live stream. Folks, did you know the most awarded wine in Texas is actually a vineyard closest to Austin? That's right. Flat Creek Estate Winery is just minutes from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award this year for their vintage wine, Super Texan. As a matter of fact, the Super Texan, folks, it actually was not only one of the most awarded wines in Texas, they entered it into the San Francisco Wine Festival recently, and it got a score of 98 out of 100. Yeah, I figured out you do the Madden scores, right? 98 out of 100. So it was named the top red blend in the country. So we've been bragging about it, telling you how good it is. My wife loves it. My mom loves it. Her mom loves it. And we get it anytime we're at local Central Market where they have it. They have it at your local Specs. They have it at HEB as well. But now it's been named the best red blend in the country. So it actually made us feel like I actually know a little bit something about wine. Not really. My friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery, they've been telling me that it's great. It's been winning awards for the last couple of years here regionally and locally, and now even nationally. So congrats to our friends at Flat Creek Estate Winery, and congrats to the Super Texan. Like I said, you can find it at HEB, at our local Specs. I saw a display at our local Central Market here as well. Not only do they produce some of the best wines on the market, but also Flat Creek is a gorgeous venue with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend, perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. All right, let's get back to some of the questions here. All right, how about this one? CB says, Rod, why Sark do Pflugerville like that? I think he was just taking a jab at Oak, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was just having fun with Oak because him and Oak and like all these guys have like their own individual kind of relationship with Sark. DJ does because DJ is like mentoring guys behind the scenes, and Oak has spent time as well, going to practice mentoring guys. So I think he was just kind of taking a shot at Oak. I think that's what he was doing. But I'm sure he got some love for PVO. He's got to have love for PVO. Hey, I used to live in Pflugerville, by the way. So shout out to PVO.
I want to chop it up with Oak on a podcast because we need to go down the list of like Pflugerville guys that never made it, because there's a list of like what could have been like Eric Hardiman at the very top of that list. So there's a lot of cats from Pflugerville over the years that probably should have been playing in the NFL that barely, if at all, made it to college.
No, I remember when I first saw Alex Okafor. It's like, damn, see, I'm feeling old now, man. I was doing games with Craig Way. I was doing like high school games with Craig Way. And we would, and I remember when I first saw him, and I was like, I think I told Craig Way straight up, I was like, got a chance to make it, chance to go to the league. And he was already considered pretty good at the time. I don't know what he was rated at the time. He's already considered good. But literally, you just had to look at him and go, also, yeah.
He got a chance.
He's got NFL potential. He's one of those guys. And then to see him, of course, become an NFL player, go to Texas, ball out, become one of the best defensive ends in recent history for Texas. Yeah, no surprise there. So and now Oak is on the school board for Pflugerville, I believe. I think I don't know. He won't admit it. I think he's going the politician route. I think because I'm telling you, he's very electable. Like he's, he's good looking, he's big, and he's suave and smooth, and he's got great reputation. I mean, and he's humble. Like he's got Patrick Mahomes' number in his phone, and he's humble. I was like, no, because he was hanging out with like Patrick Mahomes and like I think Taylor Swift or something like that. And he didn't want to brag, but I was like, bro, I saw a picture of you with Patrick Mahomes and like Taylor Swift, and he was like, yeah, we was just kicking it. I'm like, you was just kicking it with the biggest pop star in the world and the baby goat. That was just no big thing, but so Oak's a cool dude, and so I mean I think he's gonna be a politician in the future. I don't know what route, but I do think he's got that kind of he's really got that kind of character about him. Like I said, I think he's extremely electable. Boom! I'm the first to say it, by the way, when it happens.
Oak may be the mayor of Pflugerville before too long.
I'm telling you, dude. Exactly. Who wouldn't vote for him? I mean, think about it. Who wouldn't vote for him? I mean, and if he does it in this town, he's got a name that everybody knows. Already got street cred. Just throwing it out there. All right. Texas Fight 210 with a super chat. Thank you, Texas Fight 210. We appreciate that. It says over under on the trade for Cooper Flagg, including 5 second rounders and a bag of basketballs 7 years from now. Go Spurs, go, says Texas Fight 210.
Probably under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate the super
CJ hat throw is my only response there.
And the good and the good humor and levity. We appreciate that. All right. How about this one from Charlie says, CJ, what is the confidence on Crowell?
Oh, 70-30 Alabama probably right now. Now, that's not final. We still have to wait to see him pick a hat up, but right now I lean towards the in-state school getting them despite, and again, I laid out yesterday, I heard that Alabama might have felt like they had a little bit of nerves after feeling like they were the team to beat. Do nerves equate to Texas surging? Probably not, right? This is a high-profile recruitment with a lot of national schools recruiting them, but Texas is making a last-second push, and we'll see if anything that they do over the next, about 22 and a half hours or so gets them over the finish line. But about 75-25, 70-30 right now for Crowell to Alabama.
All right. Thank you for that. Charlie, we appreciate that. CV says, Rod, my nephew is at Pflugerville High School. Now sophisticated Celia's oldest son. Now I do feel old. Thank you, CV. And tell sophisticated Celia I said what's up too. Inside joke between me and my man CB. All right, getting back to it. Appreciate you guys and the questions. How about this one from E. Kim? Says that CJ, Texas still leading for Gurville. Also, does Texas take a 50 tackle for 2026? Yeah, I watched Gurville a little bit. I'm impressed. That's a lot to like about Gurville. What are your thoughts, CJ?
No, he's a stud. 6'5", 325. Says he wants to get down to about 310. So before his season start, he's got some work to do. He was eating right on all these official visits, he said. But look, Texas still the number one school in his recruitment at the moment. He's made that very clear coming into last week's official visit and coming out of last week's official visit. Does Texas take a fifth defensive tackle? Look, right now we think so, right? They got 3 in the class. They're pushing for Damari Simeon, pushing for James Johnson out of Miami Northwestern, and of course Gerville up there at Fort Myers. So 3 really talented ones. I think Texas lands Kendall Gerville. I think you might be seeing Damari Simeon be the one that Texas doesn't end up pushing for the hardest. Now, of course, we could also see a class that ends up as 4, and you've got 4 really talented defensive linemen, and perhaps that leaves you for a late second push out of Lamar Brown if he does not end up picking up with the Texas Longhorns later on in the month of July. But ultimately, you got 3 really talented guys in the boat. Gerville, in theory, should be your 4th with the way that he said Texas is the leader. And then moving forward, do you land a James Johnson? Do you land a Lamar Brown? You could certainly get up to 5.
And I'll say this, and this probably won't be a popular take, but I just need to say it. Look, if Texas loses some battles in the next week to 10 days, right? It's not because Texas didn't want to pay in terms of NIL. It's not because somebody dropped a bag. It's not because the staff screwed up. Man, again, I'm saying this because I don't want to repeat myself down the road. You're in high leverage recruiting battles with the very best programs in the country. Kirby Smart knows how to close on recruits. Ryan Day can close on recruits, and so can James Franklin, and so can Kalen DeBoer, and so can Billy Napier, believe it or not. Like these Florida, all these other schools have resources too. So just take that into account, first off. Second off, just because a guy commits now doesn't mean he can't be a part of the class later on. Once the dust settles, it's happened the last 2 or 3 years, and it's going to happen again this year. Once this run of summer commitments is over and the Texas staff takes stock of, all right, who's on board, who do we have? And that's another reason why I'm kind of glad July is a dead month. You can really take stock of what you've got and then say, okay, we've got, 4 defensive tackles that we feel really good about, but now we really want to double back on player X or player A, whoever that is. So it's a long way to go until the finish line. So I know saying be patient isn't like the cool advice to give out, but I'm saying that this isn't my first rodeo following recruiting, and I'm just not going to get too bent out of shape if Texas loses a couple recruiting battles. This staff has, for me, they've earned my respect in terms of deserving the benefit of the doubt that the guys they end up with, that they can develop them into quality players and plus players down the road. So, I mean, they're going to win some battles, they're going to lose some battles, but it doesn't mean that the sky is falling or anything like that. So I don't know. I just felt compelled to say that tonight. So
well said.
Yeah, like that. All right, let's thank our sponsor, one other sponsor, before we move on, and we'll take some more questions. Let's thank our friends over at Vonlane. We appreciate them and their ongoing support and sponsorship of on Texas football, and for sponsoring our Wednesday night live stream. A lot of you out there, like myself, have had to get around the great state of Texas and get to the major Texas cities, whether you're talking about Austin or Houston or DFW, San Antonio. Well, it can be a bit of a toss-up, right? Do you deal with the airport chaos, hope your flight isn't delayed, or do you brace yourself for hours behind the wheel, battling traffic and burning an entire day of productivity? And the third option is a better option, folks. It's the best option, as a matter of fact, and I've taken it several times myself. The Vonlane is better in every way. You arrive at a luxury hotel terminal, no TSA lines, no long-term parking lots, just seamless boarding experience that takes minutes, not hours. You settle into a plush leather seat, a hot towel, pillow, and blanket are at arm's reach. Your attendant offers complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select departures, even a full meal if you like. And if you need to relax, you can lean back and enjoy the ride. And if you want to stay productive, you can enjoy the high-speed Wi-Fi and power at every seat. And while you're unplugging or powering through, the Vonlane team will be monitoring traffic in real time, using smarter routes and efficient detours to keep your trip smooth and on schedule. And now is the perfect time to plan your fall travel. Booking is open through September, so whether you're headed to a college football game or a weekend getaway that needs to be done right, or a business trip, Vonlane makes the journey part of the reward. Vonlane serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, and in the Southeast, Atlanta, Nashville, and Memphis as well. Visit Vonlane.com. That's VONLANE.com, and use the code OTF25 to save $20 off your first ride with Vonlane. That's Vonlane Elevated Regional Bus Transportation. Thank you very much to our friends over at Vonlane for their support at Vaughn, Texas football and sponsoring our Wednesday night live stream. All right, we got a super chat from.
And we got a little breaking news too, Rod.
Breaking news. Let's go.
Trey Johnson has a home. He is the 6th overall pick in the draft, headed to the Washington Wizards.
There you go. Boom. I don't know if we like the Wizards thing, but hey, you got to go to a bad team when you go that high.
Hey, the Wizards are one of those teams that just don't do many smart things. So best of luck to Trey Johnson. I know they just traded for C.J. McCollum. They traded away Jordan Poole, and it looks like they just got a 5-year younger version of Jordan Poole, Trey Johnson, the guy that loves to shoot, a guy that loves to have the ball in his hands. So I'm optimistic for Trey. Congratulations, going 6th overall. They're showing right now the highest drafted players from the University of Texas. Marcus Aldridge, Kevin Durant going 2nd overall, Tristan Thompson 4th in 2011, LaSalle Thompson 1982 went 5th, Trey Johnson, Mo Bamba, each of which going 6th overall. So pretty cool. Exciting for Trey, exciting for Texas basketball.
You've had some really good NBA careers in there, and then my man Mo Bamba, not so much. But, hey, I'll say this with Trey Johnson. CJ, I don't know how you feel about this, but I've settled on a comp for Trey Johnson in terms of his ceiling. I think his ceiling could be, and I don't even know if you remember this guy, I think his ceiling could be Michael Redd before he started wrecking his knees. I think because Michael Redd was an all-NBA player, an all-star, a guy that LeBron once tried to get to Cleveland again before he blew out his knee again. So, I think this will probably end with like Trey balling out, and then when he gets to a certain point, the Wizards like, all right, we need to trade him for assets. We got to start building for the future.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, the Wizards, that sucks, but yeah, I mean, going 6th overall, that's a hell of an accomplishment. So happy for him. The Wizards, I can't tell you last time I watched the Wizards. Like they
had guns in the locker room the last time I cared about it.
I don't even remember watching the Wizards play anybody. Honestly, they never put the Wizards on. Ever. Why would they? There's no reason for them to put the Wizards on. Maybe Trey Johnson will give them a reason to put the Wizards. MJ's return. That's the last time I think we were watching the Wizards. That's a great point. That might be it. That's sad. That might be it.
But I got a reason now. We got a reason now to watch the Wizards.
I will be checking out the Wizards schedule from now on. Thank you very much. All right, Justin here with a super chat. Thank you, Justin. We appreciate that very kind super chat. Says Rod, after interviewing Sark several times, what impresses you most about him, and how much is he really involved with the defense? Those are two good questions. What impresses me most about him? Man, I gotta tell you, he had a great vision for how to build the program, and he has impressed me more as a CEO than I would have thought. All right, usually, when you take on a program like Texas, it's hard to be good in all of those different areas and all those different dimensions, right? Because he's calling plays too, right? The play caller, the head coach, the recruiter, the guy that recruits coaches. Right, hiring of coaches to be good in that department, and now we got a whole other basically because now you got your own front office. So he's hiring the GM too, and then talent evaluation, talent development, culture has its own little category too. Boosters and the donors got to be treated a certain way as well. Hell, you want to make sure your boss likes you. Remember Tom Herman? Hell, his own boss didn't even like him. CBC in it, throwing him under the bus. Remember, their fellow coaches threw Tom Herman under the bus. I haven't even seen anything like that. Right? There's all these little boxes you got to check. Being a coach at Texas, and he has checked all of them really well. He has impressed me more as a CEO than I would have thought. I mean, as an offensive mind, everybody knows he's one of the best offensive minds in football. And even as a football coach, right? He's been a head football coach at blue blood programs, USC, and at big time programs like Washington. So at least he had some idea of the scope of the job. And he was there at Alabama with Nick Saban. So he had some idea of the scope, but for him to be able to, like I said, kind of check all those boxes. And he apparently, from what I hear, is obsessed with having his fingers and hands and everything. And it's not as much, I mean, he wants to go on a defense and know what the defense is doing and have his input, right, on how the defense is being constructed, and in recruiting as well. Like, he wants to have his input. And I would say for Mac was more of a delegator. Right? Mac was like, "No, I'll hire the right guy. I'm gonna delegate. Boom, let them do their thing." And Mac wouldn't get involved really until something went wrong, pretty much. And I hear Sark is on the opposite end of that. I hear Sark likes to kind of get involved early and start tinkering with things, right? And come up with a lot of the solutions himself, rather than delegating responsibility. So what I've been most impressed with, his ability as a CEO. I didn't think he'd be this good as a CEO to oversee everything, the brand, recruiting, development, all that stuff. Now you gotta hire the right people, but he's really good as CEO, and he has been able to really take the best qualities, traits, principles, values from Saban and Pete Carroll and the few coaches that he's worked with throughout the years. And he has taken just the thing that was most compatible with his philosophy. Like, he didn't take too much. He took just what he needed from Saban and from Pete Carroll and those guys. And he was able to really construct a vision for Texas, kind of based on the best parts of Nick Saban. He talks about this, from Nick Saban and Pete Carroll, and to know what will actually translate to Texas, and what to throw away and what to prioritize and emphasize. I think he's done a great job of that. He talks about it all the time with examples with Nick Saban. He talks about when he got to Texas, and he talks about 5-7 season, and none of his stuff was working. None of the stuff that he was implementing was working. He said all the stuff that they would use that was carried over from the previous staff and regime, from Tom Herman's regime. He said the guys were great at doing all that stuff. And the funny part, he said he asked, and you should go watch it because he tells it better than I can, that he asked Pete Carroll, he's like, "Man, should I just start doing what the old coaches were doing? Because they're really good executing that stuff. Or should I, just be bullish and bullheaded and a little bit stubborn and just teach my stuff and continue to kind of lose games as a result of it?" And then Pete Carroll was like, "Well, if you want to get fired like the old coach, you should do what he did. And then you'll get fired like he did. And then they can go on and hire a new coach." But he said, if you want to change things, you got to change it. You got to change it. And it's got to be painful. It's going to be ugly, but you got to change course. And he talked about how he changed course. So the times I've talked to him, like I said, I think I've had 3 or 4 interviews with him maybe. And I think he's evolved every time and grown as a coach in that time. I think because he's learning real time. The thing he said last time I spoke to him prior to this third Longhorn, I was talking to him about like 21 person. I'm asking almost football questions, and he was just like, basically my 2 best players or running backs or 2 of them. So we're gonna run a lot of 21 personnel. That's him. And and then I was talking to him, this time, or at least we were talking to him, and he was just answering questions, and you can tell like his offensive philosophy, his defensive philosophy, all of it, I think is evolving real time. Like a lot of things that I see and observe, I ask him about when I'm interviewing him. I ask him like right at the time, like, hey, why are you doing this? Like, what's the reason for this? I asked him about defense this time. He was like, well, football is evolving, so our defense philosophy is evolving. We're constructing our defense with multiplicity, position flex, and players like that, who can provide us with solutions when defenses are trying to manipulate and engineer matchup advantages. And I can observe, I've been talking to you guys about he's been going there. Or at least that's where I thought he should go and where he was going. Then to listen to him say it real time, oh no, man, we're looking at the future of football, and we're going to build our defense in a manner that'll be ready to evolve with the game itself. Yeah. So he impresses me in a lot of ways. I think number 1, he's a football theorist. Number 2, he's a better CEO than I thought he could be. And number 3, I think I've watched him learn from mistakes every year as a head coach. and I get to talk to him like once a year. And he, to me, seems more enlightened every year. Period.
Yep.
Yeah.
You said everything perfectly, Rod. I'll just add that with Sark, I think you can look at the Texas coaches post Darrell Royal, and this applies. But what I've always said about coaches at blue blood programs, the guys that doesn't work out for and the guys that it does work out for, it comes down to two things. Not all the time, but usually two things. One is, did you truly understand the magnitude of the job, and did you adapt appropriately to put yourself on a timeline for success? And two, did you hire the right staff initially? And I think if you look at post Coach Royal, there are three coaches I think that have done those two things. They understood the job and adapted appropriately, and they hired really good staffs. Fred Akers did it. Mac Brown did it. Sark did it. You know, we all love Coach McWilliams, but even guys that work with Coach McWilliams will tell you, just was organized, wasn't quite what Texas needed for a head coach at that point in time in college football. There's a lot of parallels between John Malkovich and Tom Herman. Like, they felt that in some ways they were bigger than the job. And when the chips were down, didn't have a lot of people in their corner who were willing to step up for him. Charlie Strong, I think, was kind of like Coach McWilliams, just nice guy. I think people liked him. The difference was Charlie was overwhelmed by the job. Mm-hmm. And we all know the mistakes he made hiring his initial staff. So I think the fact that Sark hired a really, really good staff initially was a big reason why he was able to get through 5 and 7 and adapt and make the changes he needed to make and bring in the personnel he needed to make to get this program on the right track.
Yeah.
That kind of gets me fired up listening to y'all talk about Sark and the football season and philosophy in Texas. Give me, how many days away are we from August 30th?
60. Oh, I don't know.
As of today, range. 66.
Yeah, 66, something like that. Yeah.
I'm going to need that to come a little bit quicker.
Sark's impressive, man. Like I said, and I'm the reason that I am probably the shining example of a Sark fan is because I was converted into being a Sark fan. Like I stated publicly, he's gonna have to win me over. I'm not just gonna start, becoming a fan at that point because I've been dealing with the Tom Herman antics, and before that, Charlie Strong. I was like, nah, this guy, unfortunately for him, he's got to win me over. I'm not just going to, open my heart up to another coach in Texas without him showing me that he is worthy of my affectionate devotion. And Sark won me over. It's just that simple. And he did a good. He had to do it with football. He had to do it with football, and he had to do it with the culture and the way he ran the program. And the couple of times that I got a chance to meet him too. Like you know what I mean? I had met the man personally, and then thought he was an a-hole. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't know if it wouldn't have heard me talk about Sark the way I do. He won me over. He won me over at every level. Football, culture, and now he's winning me over with his like outlook on the future of his achievements here at Texas. Like now he's starting to talk about reaching out to former players and talking to former players and having a relationship with former players. That's important not only because I'm a former player, but it's important because one day your players are going to be former players. Like you should put a structure in place to take care of the former players when you're there as a player, as a coach. Like that's part of your legacy, right? That you take. And Mac did a great job of it. I mean, Mac was amazing at it, and I think Sark's now doing a great job of it too. Sark's starting to build it too, make sure the guys are welcome back in. Whatever love you got to show the T Association and former Longhorns who are in the business community now in their post-playing careers, all that little stuff. And it seems like that's a small thing. It doesn't matter. It's huge behind the scenes. Yeah. Because of the relationships that those guys have now in the community. Just talking about Alex Okafor's now on the school board, and Jeremy Hills has his own gym in Austin where he trains a lot of the NFL players. Fozzie Whitaker has a gym. You know what I mean? Like these guys are now business owners, and that's part of his pitch now to the players. The guys he's recruiting. It's like, hey, one day you guys are gonna be like these dudes. That you're gonna be done playing in the league because the league is the league. You might have a great career. You might just be a jag. It's the league. Ain't no telling. All right, whatever it is, but there is a community now where you can plant seeds with fans and alumni and all that kind of stuff, and then you can reap benefits of that later on because they'll still have a lot of affection for your brand, whatever it is you create. They'll know the name Alex Okafor, and you'll get fans to respect that name and what you've achieved, that kind of stuff.
Is it too short-sighted of me, Rod, to think to basically think this? Like, there's two things on top of mind with this. One, if you look at and I think this is the only two coaches post Coach Royal that had this. When you look at when Mac was hired, the fact that Coach Royal just kind of wrapped his arms around Mac, and Mac really made him a part of the program, I think that got Mac off on the right foot and really got his tenure kickstarted. Just in terms of understanding the politics, the lay of the land, the whole thing. I think for Sark, the big thing was the fact that when he was hired, he didn't know how much of a mess it was from a culture standpoint. Like he even talked about this in the third Longhorn interview until he really got into it and really started, digging through it and getting layer under layer. And it's just kind of, it's kind of like when you realize, oh man, I'm gonna touch it, remodel this house a little bit and get it ready. Like, no, I need to rip this thing down to the studs and rebuild it. Like it was worse. There's black mold everywhere. I got to rebuild this whole thing. It's terrible. But what Sark had was he had an administration with CDC, with Kevin Eltime, and with Jay Hartzell that said, look, we know what you're walking into. You may not know completely, but we know what you're walking into. You are our guy. You have some time. Yes, you have to win, but you are our guy. Don't worry about whatever heat you're going to take because we have confidence in you that you're going to get it done. And I think, too, unlike some of the other coaches, unlike Charlie Strong, who just was way too reactive and not proactive enough, and Tom Herman, who thought he was the smartest guy in the room, I think Sark understood if I don't win pretty quick, none of the other stuff that comes with the Texas job is going to matter. It doesn't matter how you handle the media, how you handle the donors, how you handle former players, how you handle the fans. None of that's going to matter if you don't win.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, we know that in the end. And Sark has won. All right, let's thank another sponsor before we move on. We're getting close to the end of our live stream. We'll answer a couple more questions. How about our friends at South Point Dodge? We really appreciate them and their ongoing support of On Texas Football. Texas football fans, you can score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point with our friends at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge has over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including the all-new 2025 Ram 1500. Get the real deal today and drive away in an all-new Ram 1500 proven to last. Plus, you get employee incentive pricing right now with our friends over at South Point Dodge. That's right. You pay what the employees pay right now at South Point Dodge. That's the real deal. And whether you need a car, truck, something new, something used, whether it be a trade-in, our friends at South Point Dodge are Austin's automotive everything. So get over there today. You can go see them off of I-35 in South Austin, or you can go online at southpointdodge.com. We appreciate our friends over at South Point Dodge, and we appreciate their ongoing support of On Texas Football. All right, real quick, before we get to a couple of questions, and then we get to the end of tonight's live stream, I want to bring up the Athlon Sports ranking. Apparently, they ranked all the teams, all the college football teams in the FBS, top 136 teams overall, whatever they ranked them. They included independents, I think, in there as well. They ranked the Longhorns, who skip right to the top of the list, as the number one team in the country. Athlon Sports did. They got Penn State number 2. They got Ohio State 3 and Georgia at 4 in their overall rankings. Even if you're looking at Longhorns on their All-American teams, because they just put out their college football preview, they have Arch Manning making the first team quarterback. Colin Simmons on the D-line, Anthony Hill also at linebacker, and second team they have Jack Indries and Michael Taft. They got Taft Daddy actually making it as an All-American too. That's their Athlon preseason All-American teams. So once again, another publication that has the Longhorns as one of the top teams, the top team in the country. What are you guys' thoughts? I mean, the expectations are no doubt do we expect the Longhorns this year? Is it championship game or disappointment? It seems like that it's setting up that way for Longhorn fans. I hope it's not, because I want them to enjoy the season. But it seems like nationally, the expectations are Texas is going to be playing in a national championship game, or at least getting back to the Final Four. I guess that would, for Longhorn fans, maybe that's satisfying enough, even though you've made it back-to-back years in the Final Four. But expectations are as high as I think they've been in 20 years at Texas.
Yeah, you talk about enjoying the process, beating Oklahoma, beating Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never going to be tough to enjoy those games, especially if you win, right? But in the portal era, it's tough to have the resources of Texas, to have a roster that you've built through recruiting and through the portal, to have the staff that you feel like can get over the hump and not do it again and feel like the year was a success. Now, winning the SEC, that's a goal of Sarkisian's every year, right? Winning the conference is a tough thing. Texas has only done it once so far. Probably should have done it last year, right? If you had a special teams that was up to par with the rest of the team. Point being, it's tough, right? So is it national championship or bust? I don't necessarily want to put it that way, but it's certainly pretty close when you're able to construct a roster that mirrors that of anybody in the country, when you have the hype of an Arch Manning taking over the reins of a quarterback, and anything short of that, you're probably going to be sitting there at the end of the season saying, barring any sort of unforeseen injury luck that we obviously don't know about now, it's going to feel disappointing. And so I hate to say that it is natty or bust, but point is, you got what you believe to be a more talented quarterback, what you believe to be the best defense in the country, skill players that you think will be able to hold their own in the SEC, and an offensive line that's pretty veteran with two really talented tackles filling out on each end. Does that mean, again, it's a failure if Texas loses shy of the national championship? Probably not. But that's where this preseason hype comes in, and that's where you start looking around things saying, who should Texas be an underdog to on a neutral field in the college football playoff? Is there anybody that you can, without doubt before the season, say, yeah, they're a better team on paper than Texas? Right now, I would say there isn't.
That's a good question. Neutral field, who would Texas be an underdog to?
Yeah, I think Tech. And look, Athlon wants to put Arch first team All-American. They got to sell magazines. I get it, but outside of that, I think Texas is the most complete team in the country, just from the standpoint of my question marks about Texas pale in comparison to the question marks I have about Georgia, which is, dude, your depth wasn't great last year, and now you got to reload again. Like, can you do it again? Ohio State, who's your quarterback going to be? Penn State, man, we talk about Sark not getting over the hump, dude. James Franklin's facing the kind of year Ryan Day was facing last year. If you don't win now that everybody's opened up the pocketbooks for NIL and you have the best staff you can have, like, if you don't win now, is it ever going to happen for you at Penn State? So, and I think there's something, I don't know, CJ, you mentioned something in there that triggered this for me. I'm not disagreeing with you or anything, but I think people need to understand there's a difference between a failure and a disappointment, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if Texas doesn't make the playoff this year, that's a failure. Yeah. If they don't make this, if they don't at least get back to the semifinals for the third year in a row, I'll be disappointed. That'll be a disappointing season. Because that, to me, that's where the bar is for this run right now. You got to get back to that Final Four. Fair or not, that's what we're talking about here. Ron, I thought it was interesting, though, and I know we don't have enough time to get into it tonight, but maybe we do this for winning drive tomorrow. That was interesting. Sark said they're going to be the most traveled team in the SEC this year by miles. I thought that was interesting. You talk about just the schedule, just the rigors of a 12-game regular season, maybe a conference championship, and then a playoff that's going to test your depth. All that travel at some point has to test your depth, right?
Yeah, that's why Sark wants to play so many people. Remember?
Yeah.
He keeps talking about that. He's like, all right, we got to play a lot of guys. Got to play a lot of guys. I think he understands if they were going to end up playing 17 games, and now not only 17 games to win it all, but on top of that, traveling more than any other team in the SEC to do so, that it's going to weigh you down. Just, man, he coached in the NFL. He knows that. There's only so much the body can take, and you will get guys who are just worn down at the end of the season. So I think he gets that. All right. Thank you for that, Matthew. Appreciate it. Super chat here. I know we're getting close to the end of it, but Hosey has one here. Says, I'm behind, so apologies if this has been discussed. I feel good about every position on defense other than cornerback. Should I be concerned outside cornerback one? Obviously, the cornerback spot opposite Malik Muhammad is, I'm sure, what he's referring to. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. I think they have several contingency plans for it. I don't know if any of them have basically earned the trust of the coaches. These options they have, Gilbo is out there potentially. A lot of that depends on the trust you have about who's going to take over the nickel spot. They also have just a group of young cornerbacks competing for it. Kobe Black among those guys. Santana Wilson's got to be another one of those guys they got to be looking at. Cade Phillips is young phenom they got to be looking at there. So I think they got like 3 or 4 options potentially that they're going to be considering during training camp. And we'll see which one of those. As soon as you play Ohio State, that's first game, you better be pretty confident in whatever option you're going with. And right now I feel like the Gilbo option might be the leading option right now. I feel like it might be. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like right now it might be the leading option. That could change as the season progresses. But that's just my gut feeling. I do not have any sources or anything on that. This is my gut feeling. I feel like because you need to be as sound as possible for the first game of the season against the best wide receiving room in the country. And I feel like they're just going to go with the most sound option rather than putting a young buck out there and saying, all right, grow up, right? Going up against the best wide receiving room in the country. I don't know. I don't see that happen. It could happen. One of those guys could just show out in training camp. And the coaches go, he's the man. But right now, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, CJ.
I was just going to say, going with experience week 1 when you're playing one of those marquee matchups, Rod, 100% it makes sense to lean there to begin the season. Will that be the case for however many games Texas plays? Probably not, right? We've seen this staff move around pieces to fit who's got the hot hand, especially younger guys, right? It was Derek Williams, his freshman year that really took fold second half of the season. Manny Muhammad, that final quarter or third of the season, he really started to come along as well. My question is going to be who on the defensive line is going to be that guy, because Texas adding 5 out of the portal this year, that's great. You got Alex January returning, but you're going to need that depth as we talked about. So it's a conversation for the secondary depth. Let's talk about that defensive line depth as well. It's going to be really interesting to see how they pivot from weeks 1 to week 2 through 4 and then throughout the rest of the SEC.
It's kind of strange to think, Rod, that like where you are with corner right now in the program and just look at the evolution. Like you won a conference championship and almost played for a national championship with Ryan Watts, who was pretty limited just in terms of he could play the boundary corner, and that was pretty much it. And Terrence Brooks as your starting corner combination.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Manny Muhammad started playing more as the year went on, but I think you're probably not in as good a spot as you were last year. Obviously, when you have the Thorpe Award winner and then Manny Muhammad on the other side, but you're in a better spot than you were in 23. And that was less about any deficiencies Ryan Watts may have had than the fact that, Terrence Brooks just in some high leverage situations, just quite frankly, just didn't hold up. So I think you're in a better spot than you were in 23, but corner group probably doesn't have the ceiling, but I think you could see either. I don't know, CJ, either Cade Phillips or Grayson Littleton could end up being this year what Manny Muhammad was in 23, where they start out on special teams and then gradually they just keep playing more and more and more to where they may not be the starter, but they're playing like starters reps.
Yeah.
Ohio State will have a plan to pick on whoever the unproven, inexperienced players in the secondary, because they got to play one.
Yeah.
They're going to have to play one, whether it be a nickel, whether it be a safety or corner. They got to choose where they want the inexperience, because that's just because Derek Williams is not going to be ready to play immediately.
No.
Right. And that's, if you had Derek Williams there then and ready to go game one, then you'd be fine, because you could put Jelani McDonald at nickel, Derek Williams, Taft at safety, Gilbert at corner, and then put obviously Muhammad at the other corner. But so we'll see what they try to do. Thank you for the super chat. Let's thank our last sponsor of the evening, our friends over at Advanced Pain Care, with a special message from two legendary lifetime Longhorns, Cole McCoy and Vince Young.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
Thank you to our friends at Advanced Pain Care, and thank you to Matthew behind the scenes. You appreciate Matthew twisting and tweaking the dials. Also, we appreciate our sponsors. Appreciate Advanced Pain Care, Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. We also appreciate our friends over at South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com, and Vonlane, vonlane.com. Use that code OTF25 and you'll get $20 off your first ride with Vonlane. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate all the knowledge and expertise. Thank you, CJ. Appreciate all of your input as well. Great stuff as usual. And thank you to Matthew behind the scenes, a real MVP. Thanks you guys for all your participation, all the super chats. Sorry we couldn't get to all the questions, a little bit short of a live stream today, but we'll try to get to some of those, or we'll try to get to them tomorrow. We got a live stream, of course. We have bright and early coffee and football at 8:15 with Jerry and Bobby, and then you'll have the winning drive with myself, Coach Bob Shipley, and CJ. That'll be coming up tomorrow as well. So thank you to Jeff, thank you to CJ, thank you to Matthew, and for all of our sponsors. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em.